Hello and welcome to tutorial 116, which is based on some of the techniques we used in tutorial 115. The purpose of this program is that at a specific date and time, as specified as an input, the program will issue a recalc exception, so it will force itself to be reloaded on a chart. And you can probably imagine some applications for that, particularly if you have a lot of charts open and you need to make sure that all the programs are freshly applied to the charts. So got this applied to a 9-second euro dollar chart at the moment, and actually the time there is in the past. What it does is once that date time is triggered, it triggers the alarm, it issues the exception, the recalc exception, and then it continues to do that on a regular interval. And the interval is hard coded in the program to 1 day, but it's very easy to change if you wanted to do this every so many minutes or whatever. And I've included details about that on the program page, or rather on the tutorial page at my website, which is MARKPLEX. And also this program is available for free to Gold Pass members and available for download for a nominal fee to everybody else. Okay, so let's just have a look at the program and discuss some of the issues that we have with this program. So I'm not going to type this in line by line because it's very similar to the second half of tutorial 115, which I did type in great detail. So if you want to see that, just go back to tutorial 115 and watch the second video. So essentially what we're doing is we're creating an object from the timer class, and we're taking the date time in the input. The input is called alarm DT. That is the thing that we were just looking at a moment ago. So if I double click on that, you'll see the input alarm DT, and it converts that into a date time object. Bear in mind that in TradeStation it's confusing because there's the datetime object and then there's, I suppose, the datetime format. Both are different. Again, I explain that on my website. And then what happens is if the time of the alarm, or that object, minus the datetime now, which is the datetime of the current time, of the current date time, and if that is a negative number, in other words, the alarm is earlier than the time it is now, then what happens is the program adds a certain interval to the date time. And I put that in a while loop. So the way that happens is it keeps checking, and if it's still negative, it keeps on adding another day. And I'll show you how that works in a moment with a practical example, so you understand. But what you've got to realize is that when this thing is reapplied by itself to the chart, it still has that initial alarm. So say the alarm goes off at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the program is reapplied, it's now got a time which is greater than 1 o'clock. So if we just left it as it was, it wouldn't go off again. However, what we do is we realize that the alarm is in the past and we have a specific interval in mind. So we just add that interval to the alarm to make sure that we get a positive number, or we keep on adding the interval. In this case, add days. If, however, the alarm time date time is greater than the current time, then we just take we create a timer. In fact, we create a timer either way. It's just that if the alarm is in the future and we don't need to add anything there, then we don't need to take any further action there. We then calculate the interval based on the alarm time minus the date time now and convert it to milliseconds. And we did that in tutorial 115. We just used the dot total milliseconds to do that. So we have a timer, and then we also set up a timer elapsed, as we did in tutorial 115, which is a timer event. And when that fires, what we do is we plot something which we don't actually see because the program refreshes very quickly, and then we print some information about when the timer fired, and then finally we throw the recalculate exception, and then the program reloads and so on. So that's probably doesn't make a lot of sense at first run through, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to modify the program a little bit. So instead of new alarm time.dt add 1 day, add days 1, I'm going to use add 2 minutes. And instead of printing add 1 day, I'm going to change that to print add 2 minutes, like so. Okay, so let's verify that. Press F3 or the little green tick symbol. And we're going to go back to the chart. Now this chart is a 9-second. What I'm going to do is put in a date time in the future. My computer clock is saying 5:23, so I'm just going to change that to 5:24, like so. In fact, what I'm going to do here is just clear that and then refresh the program. And what we should see, it was applied to the chart at 5:23:49. The alarm time is 5:24:45. And we also know how many milliseconds we've got to wait. So that's 56 seconds. And what you'll see when it does refresh is that we're plotting these dots on every bar, that because the program is the recalc exception is thrown, most of these dots are going to disappear because this program is basically applied to the chart, refreshed on the chart. So let's just wait for that to happen. We'll also see some information plotted here, printed here underneath. Okay, so the exception has been thrown. Most of those dots have disappeared. And what you'll see now is we've got some information here that the new alarm has been set up and the alarm time is 5:26. Now the reason that is 5:26, even though the input for the program, if we look at it, is still exactly the same, 5:24:45, is because the program realized that the alarm was now in the past. It knows what the interval is, so it adds the interval until the alarm's in the future. Now, of course, the next time we have the recalc exception, it's going to realize that it's actually 4 minutes. The alarm was over 4 minutes ago. So we'll see that what it will need to do is add 2 minutes twice. So if we just keep watching the program, okay, the recalc exception has been thrown again. Some of the dots, the earlier dots have disappeared, and you'll see quite correctly that if we look here, the alarm has been reset. But to get that new number, you'll notice now that we've added 2 minutes twice. And the way that we're doing that is we're using this while loop. So what happens is the program, as it initializes, it looks at the alarm value, which is basically just parsed on that input value, and it says if it's a negative number, in other words, if the alarm time is earlier than the time now, it then is in a while loop and it adds the number of minutes. Then it retests that. If it's still negative, it adds 2 more minutes. So it keeps on adding the interval until it gets an appropriate alarm time. So if we just wait one more time, we'll see that the next time it should add 3 lots of 2 minutes. Okay, so we've had another exception, and you'll see now that we've had 3 minutes, or rather 2 minutes added 3 times. And again, we've got the newly corrected alarm time based on the 2 minute interval. Now you may be curious why, when the recalc exception is issued, you would imagine that all the plot dots would disappear and we'd start again. But actually what we're seeing is most of them did, but not all of them. And the reason for that is actually they all did disappear. But what's happening is the program is reapplied. The last bar on chart will return true for bars which share the same hour-minute amount. And if we just watch this program, and we'll just see what happens when the chart is refreshed. These last 3 bars at the moment are 17:34, and this is going to refresh at a time of 5:34:45. So what we should see is that most of the bars will disappear, but the ones from 53412, I think, should be redrawn, or will be redrawn immediately. There we go, are redrawn immediately, and you can see that happening there. Okay, so I hope you might find this useful. Please, if you have any questions about my explanation, feel free to email them to me, and I will attempt to answer them. Okay, thank you.